How's it going, everyone? Cuttrax here. This video, if you can guess, it's going to be about radium and radiation. As you can see my Geiger counter. This one's just your basic GMC 300S. It's nothing super fancy. If you're wanting to just get into this kind of thing and check any watches for radium, or maybe some old antique alarm clocks or instrument dials, anything like that, this is a pretty good one to get. It should be less than $100. It's very solid. They do make some ones that are a little bit more advanced. This one just has a single tube on it. They do have ones with 2 tubes. You can make really fancy, get with a pancake sensor. But for what I'm doing, just some basic, like rookie radiation stuff, this one's perfect for me. To test out the Geiger counter for you, I have something interesting here. I have a sample of uranium ore, and people usually get this just for testing Geiger counters, and it does set it off very high, but as long as you don't ingest this, like carry it around with you every day or try to inhale it, something weird, it shouldn't cause any issues for you. Just like radium watches, perfectly safe to wear every day. Just try not to open it up, breathe in any of that dust. That's where you're gonna have some issues. But let's see here. If you get this somewhat close to the Geiger counter, you can see it going up a little bit right now. And this one has the tube down the bottom, so the closer you get it, the more that's gonna go up as the radiation pings off and hits it. If you get right up against it, it's going to start going crazy. As you can see there, it set off a little alarm that was built into it. So just to test it, just an example, my uranium ore. I bought this years ago for no reason at all, and I finally have a use for it. So I wanted to bust it out right now. You see the background levels are down to what it should usually be. So let me test out the watch for you now. And this one will not go nearly as high as a piece of uranium ore did, but it still gets up there, usually like 600 or 700 max. There we go. It peaked up a little bit, but usually holds right around that 600-700. So you can see there's definitely some radium, some radiation coming off this watch right here. Taking a closer look at this watch, this is one of my favorite antique ones. It's my Benrus 3-star self-winding from the 50s, and I long suspected it had radium, but I never had a way of testing it. You can see on the hands there, it has that kind of burnt orange black look to it. And that's usually a good telltale sign to see if a watch or alarm clock or old like instruments have radium, because when it breaks down, it gets that burnt look to it. You can also tell on the dials where the hands will say the watch doesn't move for a while, that radiation from the radium is going to burn the dials, and you'll get orange kind of burn marks where the hands used to set after you move it. This watch has a tiny mark on it right there, but other than that, you don't really see that. So this one's just on the hands, and I was happy when I saw one of these on sale, picked it up, grabbed it, and I was able to test it and confirm this does have radium. I don't really hunt for watches that have radium, but I think it's just a cool thing because of the history behind it, and I'm kind of glad to have one in my collection right now. This is the only watch in my collection that has radium. There's this vintage Hamilton. It's from the 60s, so it's kind of just on the edge of that era. It does not have any. It has tritium for the lume on the hands there. And I think with tritium, old tritium is that it stops working because it also is radioactive, not nearly as much, and it has a half-life, but it's much quicker, breaks down a lot more. So if I shine a UV light on this, it'll still light up where it's at on the dial, but it quickly fades just after a few seconds. This is another watch I have from the time period around the 50s where it could have radium on it, but this one does not have any lume at all. It's just your classic vintage dressy style watch. They did not put radium on this one. So with the radium in watches, as long as you don't open the watch up and accidentally breathe in or touch it, touch your mouth, anything like that, as long as you're not getting that dust inside your body, you're relatively safe. You can wear this every day if you want to, and if you want to get technical about it, the amount of radiation that you pick up over the year would be a little bit higher, but not nearly anything that would cause you any harm or could cause damage to you. The only way is if you get that direct contact with the radium coming off the actual watch, whether it's on the hands, on the face, wherever it's at on there. They used radium up until about the 60s. They started realizing how dangerous it was. If you want to look into it, I highly suggest looking up content like Radium Girls. And the backstory behind that is you had these girls working in factories painting the hands, painting the dials, painting the instruments with radium, and they'd be around that dust all day, inhaling it, breathing it in. They'd be painting with paintbrushes. They'd lick the paintbrush they were using to paint the dial. They'd get it in them that way. They'd get horrible diseases like cancer and other medical issues, literally causing their faces to melt off. So it was very bad for those people, and they did not get the help they needed in time. But luckily, in the 60s, they transitioned to tritium. Very safe, did not cause any issues, and still works well. So I highly recommend looking that up if you're into watches, into radiation, just want to learn more about something, maybe you're bored one day. Just start looking into radium and radium girl. It's a really good topic. And here's a close-up of that uranium ore sample, just so you can see it. Just a interesting looking rock with that color. I usually keep it in the bag. I don't handle with my bare hands, just to, in theory it's safe, but I just don't want to take any risks. So I got it out for you here. I just check out those neat colors to it. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like, you can leave a comment, you can subscribe, and stay tuned for more in the future.